What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today, we're going to be talking about why practicing painfully slow is such a positive on your piano practicing. Now, I think this is pretty common sense, right? Especially when you're learning a new piece or a new song or a new scale or a new arpeggio or a new anything, you should be starting slow. I think people get that. I'm sure you understand that as well. But this video is really taking it literally. And when I say painfully slow, I mean practicing so slow that whatever you're working on doesn't even sound like music. That's how slow I'm talking about. That's the way you should be practicing something brand new. And I'm going to explain to you why in this video. So point number one, when you are practicing painfully slow, you are actually using your mind versus when you practice something fast. It sounds kind of counterintuitive because you might be thinking, well, if you practice something fast, then it's faster, so you have to actually concentrate more and actually be more focused on what you're doing. But that's not true. When you practice slow, you're actually much more focused on what you're doing than practicing fast. And I can prove this to you because if you've been playing piano for long enough, and by long enough, I mean maybe 2 weeks, when you have a song down comfortably in your fingers, or you have a scale down comfortably in your fingers and you start practicing that all the time, if you're going full speed, it's so easy to zone off. It's so easy to just not even focus. You are halfway through your scale and you start realizing you're thinking about how you have to go to the gym later, how you have to go food shopping, about how you have to clock in at work in an hour, whatever it is. If you're practicing fast and mindlessly, especially things that you already have under control, like I said, scales that you're comfortable with, or some kind of piece of music that you're really comfortable with, it's very easy to just zone out while you're actually playing those things because you've already learned them and you don't have to think. On the contrary, if you are practicing painfully slow, like I said in the beginning, where it doesn't even sound like music, you have nothing to do but focus on what you're doing. And you should be focusing on things like how your body feels. What's the tension like? Do you have tension in your wrist, in your forearm, in your back, in your legs? Do you have tension? How does the sound actually sound like? Are you playing it legato? Is it more of a staccato feel? Are you accenting certain notes that you don't really realize that you're accenting? Maybe you're looking at the dynamics if you're playing a piece of music, or even if you're practicing dynamics with a scale. Are you playing mezzo forte, or are you playing a little bit more forte? Are you playing piano? Are you playing quiet? Or are you playing mezzo piano, maybe a little bit louder than piano? Right? When you're playing slow, you can actually think about every single note that you're hitting and actually focus on the sound of it and how your body is feeling in the process. And again, when you're practicing song, it's very easy even to speed up the song. You start speeding up the tempo. Maybe you aren't playing at the right volume. Maybe you're not playing as smooth as you want to. Maybe you're not conveying the right emotion that you want to. All of these things can happen when you play fast. But when you're playing slow and you just zone in on every single note that you're hitting and you're trying to get that perfection sound to come out, then you're actually using your mind a lot more, and a lot more focus is being given to your piano playing versus when you're playing fast. That's point number one. Point number two, when you are practicing painfully slow, it is damn near impossible for you to make a mistake. And by make a mistake, I'm talking about hitting the incorrect note. So when you're practicing painfully slow and it doesn't even sound like music, you are going to hit the right notes because you can take as much time as you need to, first of all, figure out what note you're supposed to play in the sheet music, find the note that you're supposed to play, and then play it with the correct finger at the correct volume, at the correct everything. And practicing painfully slow like this and only practicing it the correct way is going to help you learn a piece a lot faster. Because when you're taking it really slow and you're being conscious and aware of what you're doing, you are fully immersed in your practice, which means, again, you're going to hit the right notes and you're going to use the right finger, which is so important. Because if you do that, let's say 10 times in a row, and you are super slow, and you're using the same finger over and over again, and you're playing the same note over and over again, what is that going to do? That's going to help ingrain in you the correct way to play the song, To contrast that, if you think about most people, the way most people do it is they try to play a new song and they try to play it at full speed and they try to play it everything perfectly the first time through. If you can sight read a piece, great, but most people can't do it, especially as a brand new piano player. But when you slow it down, you are now ingraining the proper fingerings you want to use and the proper notes that need to be hit. So when you practice the way most people do, when they just do it fast and they just try to get done with it, they are hitting the wrong notes. They're using different fingerings for each note or different fingerings for each chord. And your mind gets confused because you just played the same exact measure 5 different ways. So your brain is like, I don't know what you want me to do. It's like if you're training a new employee, if you have a business or you're a manager at work or you ever have been, either one of those things, if you train your employee to do something, the same task, but you train them how to do it 5 different ways, that person's going to be confused. That's why you look at a place like McDonald's, which has a system that is so perfect and so tight and so smooth. And it's why anybody can work at McDonald's because the system is so perfect. They do the exact same thing, the exact same way every single time. It's why you can go to McDonald's in Boston or McDonald's in Miami or a McDonald's in Los Angeles and a cheeseburger is going to taste the exact same way. Same thing with your piano playing. You can take McDonald's strategy and implement it into your own practice. So again, do the same thing the same exact way every single time, even if it means you have to practice painfully slow. This is actually going to help you learn the piece a lot faster because you're going to have that muscle memory down pat and your brain and muscle connection is going to be in sync. So a very important point there as well. Point number 3. Again, the way most people do this is they practice a piece from the very beginning, they practice up to the mistake, and then they start over. So let's say the piece that most people are playing or that they're trying to play is at 100 beats per minute. They'll start from the beginning of the piece, they'll play the full song at 100 beats per minute, they'll make a couple mistakes here and there, they'll keep playing, and then they get to, let's say, measure 10, and that's where the problems arise. They make too many mistakes and they just have to stop playing because it's so incorrect. Then once they hit measure 10, that problem measure, they go all the way back to measure 1, they start over. They start playing at measure 1, they play at the 100 beats per minute, they make the same mistakes that they do, but they keep going. Then they hit measure 10 and it just completely falls apart. Then they go back to the beginning and this process just keeps getting recycled and recycled. Instead, the way you should be doing this is you want to work on your problem measures slowly. So if you're still making mistakes in measure 3 at full speed, just go back to measure 3 and practice it painfully slowly. Do it 10 times in a row. Do it 10 times in a row, painfully slowly, until you have that down pat, then move on. What's going to happen is you're going to be able to play the full piece at correct tempo, playing it perfectly up till measure 10. Then when measure 10 hits and you start to fall apart, now you just focus on measure 10. And you can break this up into make it as granular as you want it to be. So is it the first half of measure 10 that's giving you the problem? Is it beat 3? Is it beat 1? Is it beat 4? And whatever it is, focus on that very specific section. Do it 10 times in a row, painfully slow, so you have to hit the correct notes and you have to use the correct fingerings. And you're going to get it correctly. You're going to get it correct and down pat much faster than if you just keep starting at the beginning and playing all the way through and then go back to the beginning. That's the way most people do it. Don't be like most people. Work on your problem sections that you have. Make the most use of your time, especially if you're a brand new beginner adult piano player. You might not have a lot of time to be practicing. So the time that you do have to practice, you need to make sure that you're making the most of it, which is why you should only be focusing on those problem areas within the music. Point number 4. Is this is going to be boring. This is going to be boring for you. It's going to be tedious for you, especially if you are not used to it. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to want to play at full speed. It's going to sound like shit because you're playing it really slow and you're not going to want to do it. I promise you that if you stick with it, if you do what I just told you to do, you play the same measure painfully slow 10 times in a row perfectly, that you're going to learn the piece a lot faster than if you just try to ram your head up against a wall and play it from the beginning until the problem section every single time. Work on the problem areas, give it a break after that, come back the next day, try to play the whole piece. Try to play the whole piece the next day after your mind resets. See what that problem area looks like. If it's still giving you a problem, do the same thing. Only focus on the problem area. What's going to happen is within a day or two, maybe even faster, you're going to sit down at the piano, you're going to play it, and you're going to breeze through that problem section, and it's going to be fine. You're going to be able to play it at tempo perfectly with the correct fingering. And that's the way you want to approach this. And you can take it section by section, measure by measure, phrase by phrase, quarter measure, however you want to do it is up to you. But as long as you just follow the guidelines I just gave you, you're going to learn pieces a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more smooth for you, and you're going to be making a lot better use of your time. And it's just going to help you overall become a better piano player a lot faster. With all that said, if you're looking for even more guidance, even more tips, I do have a free guide on my website. It has 34 essential tips for the brand new adult beginner piano player. We talk more about your mindset and approach. We talk about practice strategies. We talk about music theory. And at the very end, we will walk you through how to play your first song. If you are interested in getting that, the link is below in the description. Click on that, and again, you'll have access to the free guide. In addition, if you want to take it a step further, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with that, send me an email. The email address to that is below, and we'll set up a day and a time that works best for you. With all that said, happy practicing. My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano.